My name is Nathaniel L. Navarro. I speak to you now with God's anointing. I come to you as a sovereign being and an American citizen. I say sovereign being first because that is who we are first. We are created by a creator. For those who forgot what this means, let me remind you. In Christianity, the Pharisees tried to trick Jesus by asking him what the one greatest commandment was, and in response, Christ spoke of three. Love God, love the other, and love yourself. In other words, God is sovereign, as you are sovereign, as I am sovereign. The message of Christ is sovereignty. Christ is not the only one who teaches this. The greatest commandment of the West is also known as the Golden Rule of the East. It is a principle universally shared among all indigenous spiritualities. This idea of sovereignty is mirrored in our relationship with the land, animals, and resources. The communion of sovereign beings is the experience of God. This is the baseline, the first memory. We are sovereign first, and then we are American. Land of the free, sovereign, and home of the brave, those who will defend what is sovereign. But something has been happening in which being American is no longer about being sovereign. The same thing has happened with Christianity. The teachings of a sovereign Christ have been overshadowed by an old law of conquest of the Old Testament and of empire in the New Testament. These are helpful principles as long as it honors sovereignty, but it has been used to erase sovereignty, forgetting the first commandment. This is not God. This is distortion, and anything associated with this distortion gets distorted. But when truth is next to distortion, distortion exposes itself, and the flow of interpretation is remembered. American defining sovereign versus sovereign defining American. Christianity defining Christ instead of Christ defining Christianity. One moves in the direction of truth, the other moves in the direction of distortion. What we seem to have forgotten is that the laws of America are based on the laws of creation, not in spite of. This reversal of logic and reason is a forgetting. It is indicative of a type of human being that has been born and raised on lands that were stolen versus lands that it respected. To take from another sovereignty is the baseline of their existence. To shame and to manipulate is their version of truth and love. It is a distortion that does not belong in the high seats. The purpose of these high seats is to keep the flow of natural law moving in a healthy direction and alignment with the Most High and all sovereign beings. Not the opposite. This perspective of conquest is an entitlement, and it is also an inherited wound. Growing up as a fundamentalist Christian in the Bible Belt, I saw myself as a white middle-class man with white middle-class fantasies. But this sense of entitlement also subjected me to a 15-year-long sexless marriage with a spouse who was suicidal whenever we tried to be intimate due to forgotten atrocities in her past. This sexless marriage affects 1 out of 5 Americans. This is when you have sex less than 10 times a year or less than once a month. It is the silent pandemic affecting us. And it's indicative of a crisis of intimacy, not just with other people, but with ourselves. I decided to confront my personal wound of separation with the body by using my first love of filmmaking. I'm a graduate of the University of Southern California, one of the best film schools in the world. But what I had to do, I did not learn from them. I had to figure this out myself. With my camera, I felt safe, like an ostrich with its head in the ground. Through editing, I could transmute new emotions with new memories. I could worship the erotic, restoring a relationship with sex and my body and with God. What resulted was a gnosis, a forgotten memory of a Christ before conquest, a grassroots mystical Christianity that was in concert with other religions and spiritualities of other nations. It is a memory of world peace, not earned through war, but here in the present now, in the body. It is the forgetting of shame. What I hold is a memory of an embodied erotic Christ. So let me be clear. The reason we are in a world of disarray is because we have forgotten an erotic embodied Christ. Without an erotic embodied Christ, what we have is something else seated in its place, in the highest seats of government, in the highest seats of spiritual institutions, and embedded in our family systems. That's something else being child rape. The human trafficking of children and women is the largest industry in the world. It is a distortion of natural law, mirrored in a cannibalism that is observed in the Epstein files and all those associated with it. And now this teaching is wanting us to do the same, to normalize child rape, to normalize human trafficking, and to normalize the eating of ourselves, which is hidden in plain sight right now in our processed foods. This is mirrored in the behaviors of the billionaires who hunt human for sport and support human trafficking as a hobby and have become too detached from reality to remember what it is to be human. By pursuing these things of wealth, greed, and gluttony, indulging in the body without reverence of its creator. This is the prison that fallen angels and demons have been cast into. We are able to ascend, they are not. So in response, what is happening is if they can't have it, no one can. And we are being conditioned to take their inheritance while foregoing ours, our sovereignty. Now that this is seen, I speak to the memory of the embodied Christ in you. Before you are American, you are a child of the Creator. Before belonging to anything or anyone, you are a sovereign being. And it is in the direction of remembering that these laws should flow, not in the direction of forgetting of its source. And this begins now. Whereas Christ came before as suffering and forgiveness, Christ returns now as remembered truth and fire. To be clear, this is not the storming of the White House. This is not civil war. When people of truth share space with someone who lies, those who lie implicate themselves. So God's judgment will act in this same way. This is about recognizing embodied truth. Just as there are those who are called to speak and those who are called to help others heal, there are those who are called to be the judgment of God. To every man and woman who have taken a vow to protect and serve, who have taken a vow in seats of government, who have taken a vow in positions of security, who have taken a vow to protect their families, the power of your vow is only as strong as that who you give it to. Integrity given to someone who does not know how to keep a vow is a forfeiture of your vow and all that integrity. It is a forfeiture of your alignment with the Creator. Christ once spoke that we are to beware the wolf in sheep's clothing. God calls now the wolves who protects the sheep. These wolves who love sheep will come after the wolves in sheep's clothing. They are the warriors with swords of truth. So what we are doing now is a realignment to truth. All those who are implicated by the Epstein files, you are to be executed. All of these executions, if possible, are to be done in public to send a message that America has not lost its soul. This is not a command by one person. It is a choice by sovereign people. To anyone who hinders this process of God's judgment, you stand between the guilty and God's judgment. You will be executed. To all seats of power left available by executions as a result of the Epstein files, there is no collapse of infrastructure. These seats are to be filled with Christ's exiles. These are people of diversity who have been judged, who have been ostracized, who have been persecuted against, and even the handicapped, who have always been inspiration of strength for this nation. We will maintain a normal life, but as executions happen, we hear about it. We just hear about it. What is happening now is the separation of the wheat from the chaff. And we are in need of leadership, those who are already in place, who know what child rape is. But to those of you who defend child rape, they do not have God's protection. They can be sent to the hounds. They can be sent to the wolves. May it be clear that what I have spoken comes from our Creator. I am not a person of power, but I am an instrument for the Most High. My place is to help others heal during this return to what is true. We are to return to the body, to prioritize pleasure over suffering. We are to dance and to sing. We are to worship and we are to commune. The rule of these child rapists have led us into a sedation that has stifled our creation. Creating is the memory of our Creator and us. So we create to heal. We innovate. We imagine with love. And this feeds a new economy. An economy that values authenticity instead of deceit. That is a reflection of a love frequency and not of greed. As one sovereign being in this dance with you, I offer my own creation of my online magazine as part of this weaving of a new economy. This is not the destruction of capitalism, but a peripheral system that offers choice. Bypassing the unilateral moves of these pedophile puppeteers, instigating a forced digital economy without our consent to ensure a one world governance to fill their pockets and their indulgences. Now it is seen. That brainwashing has just ended. It is my hope and prayer that you receive your execution with dignity. That is the last gesture of leadership you have left. Because if you do not, for the lives of the girls that were left in your wake, God's wrath falls on your daughter.